Welcome in, everybody, to another Nice Job live chat here on the Nice Job podcast, brought to you by Engage, real-time social proof available absolutely for free. What are you waiting for? Check it out and get on it. This conversation, I'm very intrigued by. You know I'm excited because you know I'm an excitable guy, but I'm very intrigued by this because it goes down a little bit of an avenue that I'll be completely honest off the top, I wasn't overly familiar with. You might expect our partnerships manager, Curtis Davey, to have hosted this episode, but I wanted to stay in my host chair here. One, for consistency, because I know how much you guys love the voice and the look here. But also I felt that it'd be great to make sure that we can kind of approach it from all different angles and all different levels. And we're always trying to bring experts, from different avenues in kind of the Nice Job world, Nice Job relationship, but someone just to give you a perspective from any expert angle. And today my expert is Alex Glenn, founder of partnerprograms.io. Alex, thank you so much for joining me today. I know we're trying to work and getting together and get this recorded, but thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, anything for you guys, man. I love the Nice Job team. Everybody I've met over there has been awesome. Love Curtis. You've been awesome, Sean. So happy to be here.
And we appreciate, the relationship we have. And we want to dive in. We were kind of working on several titles of what I wanted to call this, whether it was FAQs when we're working for an agency, the how, when, and why. But ultimately, we're going to talk about agencies. We're going to talk a little about just, partnership in general. We're going to talk a bit about software. But my goal with this conversation, Alex, is really just to help anyone that's out there listening kind of get a good idea of some things they can look at if they're looking to get into relationships, some things they should be monitoring if they're within relationships, and generally like kind of the overall benefits. Before we dive fully into that, partnerprograms.io, for anyone that's never heard of it at all, you want to give us a little kind of a high level of what you guys are about, what you do?
Yeah, if you are a small business owner, you just have to trust that we're making everything better for you. There's not a whole lot we can do directly together. We work between the software companies like NiceJob and agencies. Agencies, in our definition, can be consultants. They can be large, marketing agencies. They can be analytics, specialized, nuanced agencies. But they're really any third party that has an impact, an effect, touching and really maintaining or manipulating any sort of campaigns that are going on or assets that you as the business owner are putting out there, right? So any third party that has an influence over what you're doing, what you're putting out, and how you're interacting with your customers, those are agencies, consultants, and we help them understand how to work with software partners, right? And then on the other side, we work with NiceJob to show them how best to work with all of the agencies that we work with and make the entire ecosystem happier.
And that's exactly why you're the ideal expert to speak on the situation, because you kind of get to see it from both sides of the coin, but it's also kind of a way of looking at an agency or looking at software. Perhaps if you can find out that they're working, with someone like you guys there, that kind of shows that, they've kind of also been another vetting process, but there's also a little guidance so that a software company that might be amazing at a software, but might not sure how to kind of work, get together with agencies, there's help there and kind of vice versa. So we want to talk, why, we want to talk how, but perhaps when is a great place to start, because some people might see in their coaching programs, they might see threads online. They just have the general like, oh, well, an agency might be able to help you out. Or, I'm sure there's some software that could handle that for you. So let's start with the agency side of it. If you're a small business owner and you're trying to figure out at what time does an agency make sense, or at what point should you really perhaps start investigating, if not investing, in some agency help?
Yeah, so I'm a tinkerer. I'm of the belief that even as a founder, I know you're busy, you should at least have that knowledge of a little bit of I've gone ahead with some things, and I am at least convinced that this route is the route to go. Whether that's reputation marketing, SEO, PPC, content marketing, whatever it is, we're talking about marketing. I'm of the opinion and experience that, try it yourself, do it a little bit, because the times when you can get burnt as a business owner, when you can go down the wrong path with the wrong agency, the wrong consultant, the wrong expert, is when you really have zero clue. You haven't even tried it yourself. you have done nothing. You just say, hey, I believe SEO is the right answer because, hey, it seems to be a keyword I hear a lot, and maybe someone down the street is also using it. So let's go and Google SEO agencies and start looking at RFPs. Not the right way to go about it. Try it yourself. So that's the first and foremost. I mean, the second thing about making sure you're working with the right agency at the right time is the need to potentially scale a channel and or maintain a certain level of consistency for something, right? And not having the person in-house to own it. I am also of the opinion, especially during COVID, this has become very apparent that having someone in-house is not always, the best way to maintain that consistency. I think more and more small business owners are becoming comfortable, especially after 6 months of this, with potentially someone out of house managing the day-to-day for something. The agency relationship with a business has changed, and the freelancer or consultant or individual type of contractor relationship with the businesses have changed dramatically, which means essentially, small business owner, you now have to go out of house to do a lot of the stuff that you maybe had someone in-house for. Maybe you lost a lot of revenue and you need to contract bits and pieces of the necessities that you need to keep the lights on, but you don't need to hire that full-time blank, right? That is an opportunity to look at, okay, well, what types of people and types of relationships are out there to maintain that, to keep growth happening, to keep new customers coming in the door. So you kind of have to be in this world now. So we're talking about this world of, okay, who is that agency? Is it a consultant? Do I go to Fiverr? Do I go to Upwork? Or do I go Communo? I think we have something with them coming up. Do I go to these networks and try to pick off freelancers, or do I hire an agency? So back to the reason and the why you're in this world is, okay, well, you've got something you need to do. Hopefully you've done it a little bit yourself, or at least you have knowledge of it working in your business on some degree. Mm-hmm. Now you have to decide how best to budget and scale that, right? So the budgeting aspect of it, that's going to be the biggest struggle, I think, for most small businesses. They don't really know whether they should be spending this much on PPC, this much on local reviews marketing, this much on SEO, this much on content. That is going to be a consistent struggle for every business. You have to find the right recipe for your business that drives the most amount of people for the least amount of costs, right? That's every business out there. You have to tinker, you have to play with, you have to understand what is working for your business. And the consultants, the agencies, those people that work with other like businesses are also going to be the best people to advise on the marketing mix for your business, is what we call it. So what is that, ratio of the different marketing channels? How do you pull each one? But I think we are all on the same page, especially if you're listening to this, that your reviews are a very big lever. What has happened to a lot of these small businesses, maybe not yours, hopefully not yours, is that as soon as they turned the lights off because of COVID, their customers kept calling. Things kept happening maybe on their website, right? And customers had bad experiences with these businesses that turned off essentially for a little bit of time. Those bad experiences turned into, I drove 40 minutes and showed up and they weren't there. And on Yelp, it said they were going to be there. Or on Google, it said they were going to be open. And then they start typing bad reviews, right? Yeah. Now we need to dig ourselves out of that hole. We need to make sure these reviews are not hindering our business. And we need to make sure that when customers have good experiences, we market the heck out of them. So we can talk more about kind of the strategy and the mentality of choosing an agency. But the thing that I would say most is like, after you've kind of gotten to that point where you think you do have the budget, just know that agencies are the ones that also have to be sort of the experts in the software stack that you have chosen. And agencies, they are good at what they do, agencies and consultants, they are thinking 6 months ahead. Whereas your software, no offense to NiceJob, no offense to everything you guys are doing, yeah, software companies typically think in pretty real time. You know, they've got a bug here, they've got user experience failing over here, they've got a product roadmap that may be 6 months in advance, but their product is built for what you need today, right now.
Yeah.
Whereas agencies, they're going to advise you on what you need to make sure you're in business in 3-6 months if they're good at what they do.
Yeah, and it's funny from the software perspective that you talk about that product roadmap, and COVID's a great example. And I'll just use NiceJob having the interior knowledge of it. Is there's a lot that did get slightly delayed because when COVID changed and Google says, okay, they're withholding reviews, they're going to change how they are automatically approving reviews because people are going and saying, I can't believe this business is closed, even though the government shut them down and they didn't get the email out, like all of that. And it puts a big change. And so that's where the relationship of, software to your business and an agency to your business is great. Because if you get an agency that gives you the right software, it hopefully ends up being the best of both worlds. So you have someone that's giving you, a longer guidance. You have that software company that is giving you what you need now. And the software company is going to make adjustments, things like that, but allows you to kind of always have someone with you. And I love when you talked about being the tinkerer, because it's really interesting when you ask someone, all right, well, how would you pick a new tool? They'll tell you exactly how they would go about testing it, researching it, everything like that. And perhaps it's because it's instinctual, and they don't do that also because perhaps it's kind of a different world. Is there a baseline evaluation or a simple couple of things that you want to look for when just trying to learn what an agency can provide for you? Because if you're going in there completely blind of what they might be able to do, like what questions should they be asking?
Okay. Yeah. So, it's not one size fits all. It all depends on what you're trying to do. I think I break it up into some of the sort of PPC and media buy categories, right? Mm-hmm. So when you're looking at those agencies, you're going to look at them much, much different than your day-to-day agencies, which could be social media management, content management. I put you in this bucket with reviews marketing. So you definitely want to deprecate those. And then the other are web developers, anyone that's doing analysis. Those are usually project-based type agencies. But the two that I think we're going to talk about are the ones that are retainer-based. They're going to be consistent. They're going to be ongoing. You may not stay with one agency, but you're going to continue doing whatever that is for a long period of time. Those are the ones you want to be very careful of how you get in those relationships and what you do. Now, I just want to address a couple things. So agencies that represent or work with one of the software per category, right? If you are a small business owner, you probably don't know many of these. You don't know what categories there are, what software there are, what partnerships are in place. But maybe you've heard of like a HubSpot agency. That's the most prevalent, right? Those are agencies, they will not represent another marketing automation suite, right? They represent HubSpot. They're very tight to HubSpot. They will not even attempt to sell you on anything but HubSpot. And if you're not on HubSpot, a lot of the times those agencies won't work with you, right? Now, then there are the software agnostic agencies, the ones that will say, I'll work with anybody. You tell me your stack, I'll work with it. And I've got a few recommendations, but honestly, because I work with so many different clients and they're all on different software, who knows, right? So those are the two sides of the coin. And then there's people in the middle that may partner with a couple different tools in a very superficial way, then they have their preferences, but they're very tech oriented, meaning they really do know tech and they know it so well. And they're such tinkerers that they haven't doubled down on deciding to partner with anyone because they love all the new, the new bells and whistles. So there's cautionary tales in each one of those buckets. But I think we were talking about this, Sean, before we started. I think the best strategy, and given I was an agency for a while and I bought agency services. So I was internal as VP of marketing, buying $10,000, $20,000 agency contracts. And then I was an agency, and then I was a consultant too. So I have been on each side. given not a small business, but I have sold services to small businesses.
Gotcha.
The one thing that I think everybody should start to realize is that the agencies that have productized their services are going to be the ones that can A, help you ramp faster, and B, really put you in a position to go up and down quickly with the budgets, right? The ones that have productized their services, meaning they have a landing page on their website with a very, cut and dry reviews marketing for this much money. And maybe there's a custom version of that where they'll change it. But the ones that do that, that tells me a couple things. That tells me that they've buttoned up that process. That's proven. They've done that so many times that they're confident enough to start selling it as a packaged up product, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you get to a landing page and it says, oh, we do content marketing, and we're really good at it and we write a lot of content and all that stuff. And there's no pricing, there's no package, there's no bullet points, there's no, it's not productized, it's not a package. That tends to scare me a little bit. That means, oh, well, we're going to get into a sales conversation. You're going to ask me some questions. Maybe you'll do a lot of diligence, maybe not, but you're going to come back to me with something custom, which means, what if next month is not a good month? I want to back that down. And what if I want to scale it up again the next month? You're not going to be able to scale if things are going well, because you're kind of selling me a custom package. So every time I want to scale anything, you're going to have to redo the audit process. Kind of scares me a little bit. So when that package is productized, when it says reviews marketing there, or that agency has something that they can talk about that first time you jump on a call for costs and what that looks like and how they're going to scale it. And what if you have to back down? That's an agency that I would start to look into a closer relationship. The second aspect of this is whether or not you start with software or you start with agency. If you start with software, find an agency to run that software, or do you start with agency and ask them what software and then go with whatever they recommend? Pros and cons to each, but where do you want to take the conversation? You want to go into that?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I was generally going to go next of trying to figure out where might be best to start. And again, everything we're going to talk about, it's to each their own, so to speak. It might not speak exactly to you, but so we'll definitely keep it high level for those of you listening out there, and you kind of can pick in. But that's a question, that would probably come up pretty early in the process, all right? Especially if you're still, investigating and learning.
Yeah.
Do I go with an agency to kind of, here's what I generally know, can you help me guide me the rest of the way? Or do I tinker with software? Do I get, really accustomed to that, working into my workflows, things like that, and then look for an agency to expand from there? Pros and cons to each, but is there any way you kind of lean one more than the other?
Yeah, I would say this. It depends on the software. There are certain software that you definitely want to go to them and say, who do you trust to implement your software? Those are the heavier builds, the Salesforces, HubSpot, Marketo. These are, big software companies run these. Small SMBs, even if you have multi-location, you probably won't run into a lot of heavy lifting outside of maybe your POS system. So probably not going to talk too much about that. So let's just hypothetically say you're a SMB with one or two locations, maybe, or maybe one big location. Your heaviest expenditures are going to be around probably print, media buys, these sort of, inbound traffic, foot traffic generating campaigns, right? Those are not typically backed by a lot of software outside of some behind the scenes stuff that you may never even see. So what is that agency using to run PPC? You probably don't know. You just know it's AdWords. They're buying stuff off Facebook. They're buying stuff off Instagram, maybe some billboard advertising. There's not a SaaS behind that outside of maybe what they use to do their diligence or paperwork or whatever, right? Same thing with social media. NiceJob, yes, it is a software, but it is a very lightweight software. It is something that honestly, as the business owner, you probably know by now that you can use it and you can probably be comfortable with it. Whether or not you can scale it and add the other pieces to the puzzle, that's really what we're talking about. So the question again is whether or not to start going down the agency research path, decide on an agency, and then go find the software based on what that agency recommends, or start with the software. So we're in the world where you're probably not going to be using a lot of software to power what you're doing on the marketing side, right? Either is the agency, okay? So in this world, of course, you're going to want to start by researching the agencies, right? Now, back to my original point, you do want to tinker first. So instead of thinking about it like I need to research software, when we're talking about some of the things that are ancillary, like reviews marketing, content syndication, right? Content media, social media scheduling tools, these kinds of things. Yes, try out, most of them will have free accounts. Try out a few of each one. You you need to keep the lights on doing something. Some of this will be SaaS backed, software as a service backed, like NiceJob. Go and look for the tools that you see others using. You can go to their website and go to builtwith.com and find out what snippets are on those competitors' websites and look for software on those websites that they're using. You can check out that way. You can probably go to a Facebook group and put in a post. Hey guys, what's the best reviews marketing? G2 Crowd can be, G2crowd.com can be, something of benefit to you to look and research, but there's a lot of bias there. And honestly, I've seen great software that doesn't have a lot of reviews on there, and they just don't give it a lot of attention. It is a marketing channel. You got to pay to play for the most part. So I don't go to those a lot. I like to look at sites like clutch.co that have the agencies listed with what software their expertise in. So you can start to type in keywords like restaurant marketing, right? Local clinic marketing, those kinds of things. And agencies will pop up because they want to rank on these directories for those keywords. They'll mention what software they're proficient in. But anyways, the point is, get a few accounts started, go into the UI, see how comfortable it is. See if it's something that you feel is valuable, like the tool itself, and then go into their ecosystem, right? So I think NiceJob, you guys have a very large partner network, a large support network, right? So part of software, if it is going to be managed, whether by you or the agency or a combination of both of you, there needs to be some level of support. How best to use the software? Are there playbooks? Are there templates? What level of help and education do you get at each stage? So in those onboarding processes, once you kind of find a few tools, a few free accounts, maybe even a $10 here, $20 there, you start to ask them questions about what level of support. And then they'll start to talk about maybe their partnership network, right?
Yeah.
And then at that stage, if you have gone this route with the ancillary tools, not PPC or SEO, but these ancillary tools, you can start saying, okay, well, who in your partner network works with small businesses like me? You could be a restaurant versus a chiropractor. I don't think restaurant marketers and chiropractic marketers, are going to be identical. The ones I work with that are restaurant marketers, they do a little bit different things than the chiropractor, the clinics, right? So make sure that you mention what you do and who you work with or what type of business you are, and they'll hopefully match you. So you've got this sort of ecosystem development. And this is the biggest thing. It's like, what sort of a team do you want to have, right? You see this happening in sports all the time. It's like, okay, well, yeah, this guy's the best or this girl's the best, but she didn't grow up under that system, and my team currently, none of them have ever played with her. So yeah, she could be the very best statistics wise, but this other girl over here, she's played with 3 of my current teammates and she grew up in this system, right? So yeah, I'm not technically the best, but the coach and GM would probably make the call to bring in the second best because that girl has the same system, has the same mentality, knows what that team is all about. So it's the same thing with your marketing team. It's still your team. Even though it's an agency, you want to bring in someone that knows the system and that knows other businesses like yours and knows your software stack. So whether you go through the agency or through the software, you do want to develop that team system where everybody knows and is comfortable. It's not someone over here trying to quickly learn, whatever software over here, or, the software recommends someone that maybe they just had someone, that they spoke with that morning, a new partner that they just onboarded, but that partner has never dealt with restaurants before and you're a restaurant owner. So just make sure everybody's on the same team and everybody knows, the systems that work in that vertical, in that sector, right?
And part of your research should probably be finding out what system you're trying to employ and have them kind of execute as well. Because you go back to the team analogy, and a lot of the longtime listeners of our podcast will know anytime there's a sports analogy, I'm going to jump all over it. But I'm a former hockey coach. Guess if I got another job, I'd be a current hockey coach. But and part of that is, you're putting together line combinations, you're putting together things that have to work together. So sometimes putting the three best on a forward line doesn't necessarily work as well as some of the other ones, which I think is also important for you to recognize what is happening between. So with NiceJob, being reputation marketing, a lot of people have put us in the reputation management category, but going to reputation marketing is if we are separate software from some other, software I might be using and some other avenues, what NiceJob is going to create in the end, not just, more customer views, but it's creating that reputation, creating that social proof, gathering that for you, and able to package it for social media content, package it to turn it into an ad, turn it into real-time social proof on your website or anything like that. So while NiceJob might seem niche in one regard, the output from NiceJob can feed other systems. And I think it's really important when you start looking at, agencies and what software they might, have as part of their package, part of their stack, things like that is, okay, if there's something that you like, there's a CRM or, whatever sort of software you might be using that you like, if that can work independently, then you might be able to use that agency to run the rest, as long as that agency can not work with the one thing that you're keeping above. So I think it's almost like creating your own sort of custom makeup. And I guess it's a little bit to wrap it up is like the GM to the coach. Your coach has to execute everything you're doing, but your GM's got to give that coach exactly what they need in order to really benefit it. So you're involved in either software or agency, anything like that. How do you evaluate that over time? Because that's the biggest question. We sat down, before our podcast season here, we discussed, avenues we wanted to go, questions we wanted to answer. We thought someone like you would be able to give great insight on how to evaluate, your agency working or your software working, but just what sort of metrics you're kind of looking for. Because I think everyone's biggest fear, or the fear we hear the most, is once I sign up, how do I know if they're fulfilling a need where I'm not really the expert on? How do I know maybe it's going good or going bad?
Yeah. So with, there's a general software need agnostic answer, and then there's something probably specific to NiceJob. I wouldn't be the one to probably answer the NiceJob specific. I could make some guesses, but so I believe the question is, how does a business owner, the end user, the end, purchaser, procurer, whatever of the software, make sure that the software is necessary and being used to its fullest?
Well, also within like the agency realm as well. So to put it in almost a example sort of perspective is, I know I wanted this software and that software. This agency sort of provides it. It's going through. I feel like I'm seeing results, but I'm not quite sure. And now the internal tinker in my mind is wary that I outsource something and I don't have a pulse on it. So how do I keep the pulse on it?
Got it. Okay. Well, I'm going to break that in half real quick. So first thing is, hopefully you've done this manually before you have software. So before you implement a big marketing automation suite, hopefully you've done your fair share of CSV uploads and, using MailChimp, and then, downloading, uploading, trying to go through sheets, and, how much time you're spending, hopefully you have an idea of time, because a lot of this in early days is just return on time, whether or not the software is alleviating time. And you do have to have spent the time in order to really know that, to really get that idea. A lot of software is bloated. A lot of, especially more expensive software, is very bloated. And you have to really have the need for everything that software offers, because the costs are in usage of the entire suite, not just one feature, right? So that's the other side of the coin if you're trying to figure out return on investment for the software. But making sure it's being used and making sure it's giving you, it's being, stewarded, I guess, correctly as you pass it off. Like, hey, I've warmed this up myself, and maybe you're in that situation. Maybe you onboarded with NiceJob or whatever it is, and you've got an account up to what you think it's working. Now you need to put it out to pasture and hopefully have some consultant or some agency run it for you. That is a definite sticky situation because the agency knows first and foremost, in that relationship where something is working and they're tasked to make it work better or manage it, they're going to be looked at under a very close lens, and many agencies will push back on that. And they'll say, yeah, we're going to work over here in the dark, or at least on other things using our software that we really love. We'll still achieve the same results. You keep doing what you're doing inside a NiceJob. But hypothetically, got an agency that is taking over this routine that you've started, right? To answer this question, I think the best way is to look at sort of the different aspects of optimization, some of the stages of optimization from an agency standpoint, right? So if I'm an agency, I want to come out of the gate with immediate fixes, right? Things that you didn't see. And this is what you need to look for as a business owner. You need to make sure that they have immediate value to add, maybe even on the first call. But many agencies will hold back a little bit. They'll wait until the contract's signed and all that. But even then, let's just say you're in week 1, right? The agency is giving you an RFP that's super high level, super general. They're saying, hey, we're going to hit 20% over the first 3 months of blank, and we're going to maybe add this many, which we project to do blank and whatever, right? That's all fluff until it happens, right? That's pretend that doesn't exist until it happens, right? So when I was managing agencies, I just made sure that things were getting done week 1, week 2, week 3. There was never a week where there wasn't something getting adjusted and optimized, right? And if something seems like it's not continuing to be optimized and you are paying a management fee, not a percentage on increase of blank, not a percentage of net plus a very small management fee. But if you're paying a pretty hefty management fee to get things done, that includes hours, you are the business owner. You have to make sure that you are accounting for, hey, what did you do? What did you do with those hours? And this is the contract again, where there are hours being billed for things, right? Yeah. Now for reviews marketing specifically, let's just talk about that because it's definitely a nuanced case where it's not SEO, PPC, those types of relationships. Most agencies will sell you the same kind of thing. With reviews marketing, this is a kind of a new category, NiceJob starting to pave the way in, where you are taking reviews and you're creating content and you're syndicating it and you're doing a lot of different things. NiceJob powers a big chunk of that, thankfully. But there are tons of optimizations that could happen, right? So one thing you cannot do is look at anything on social, like whether engagement went up. Those metrics are very, very difficult to say, hey, that post had this many likes and this post had this many likes, so the agency didn't do something right. That's not going to be something you're able to track. I think with reviews marketing, with some of the content syndication stuff, some of the routines and the activities that you can track are how much was done. With content marketing in general, it's how many blips, how many impressions, how many times was our brand put out there. It's not necessarily the agency's job or the agency's influence to say, we are increasing the number of views per post. That's honestly not something a lot of agencies can really control. When you get into higher price agencies, branding agencies, advertising agencies, yes, of course, because they do a lot more around the design. But if we're talking about $1,000 a month content marketing agency that is now doing your reviews marketing, I would look at how much they are doing and at least stay on the consistency, at least maintain that consistency. And then look at some of the traffic to your Google's reviews page, some of the reviews pages that they are actively influencing, or wherever those links are coming back to. So, right. So when you do a reviews marketing post, there's probably a backlink right there to either the reviews page itself or that review, that deep link into the review. Google will give you a weekly, I believe, report of how many visitors have been to your Google My Business page. Yeah. That's something that you can look at. You can say, hey, even though our average views per post or our average likes, engagement per post haven't gone up, we are seeing more traffic to this page, right? And if that is noticing a nice, it doesn't have to be up and to the right, but at least up when you started with the agency, and it'll plateau because unless you're paying the agency more to do more, don't expect a whole lot of up and to the right going on. But look at that, look at the average impressions or the views to the Google My Business page. But I just look at, is the agency seeming to get better? Are they doing things in your account that would justify the hours? And start a basis point almost, right? So know that, hey, I paid them $1,000. They did, 5 or 10 posts, reviews posts, whatever the content was. And this is the same with blogs, same with any type of social media marketing or content. Literally, how many things did they do during that month for that amount of money? And then look to the next month. If they hit that, yeah, you're probably good. They should probably do things a little bit better, maybe even add more, get more optimized for the time that they spend, because they're getting better at that process. But with reviews marketing, it's a little bit tougher. Obviously with SEO, with PPC, you are looking for ongoing optimizations. If we can talk about those real quick, I love my SEO agencies that I work with, but I have been burned by SEOs. I've been burned by PPC agencies because there are so many levers that you can pull. Mm-hmm. They know them. They know that most business owners don't know them. The levers being optimizations, right?
Yeah.
How you can tweak an ad. There's probably 100 things that you can do to one ad to make it appear better, get higher click-through rates, everything that you'd want it to do as a business owner. Unfortunately, you are paying into a relationship that the agency knows they need to hold some cards to themselves in order to make sure that you are continuing with them if you're on a retainer. If they give you all of their tricks first day, they know that you're going to be gone after a few months. And I did this. I cycled agencies every 3 months. I was definitely abusive when it came to managing agencies as someone who was spending their budget, as I should be. I made sure that they gave me everything their first month. And then, I saw it plateau because there wasn't a lot more they could do. They literally put in, the most amount of optimizations they could that first month because I knew what they were, right? So you can either be that micromanaging owner that gets everything out of that agency week 1, month 1, and you're probably going to create a really tumultuous relationship with the agency, and you're not going to have a good family that you want, a good team. But I would go kind of somewhere in the middle where you can maintain a consistency where that you spent this amount of money, you got this amount more traffic to whatever pages that you want. Then you also got your reputation increased, or your domain authority went up, or your whatever. And those are some long-term KPIs that you look to after month 6, after months 12 with working with an agency. But find your comfort zone. Find a place where you can go to bed at night pretty much confident that if that agency did this number of things, either managed this number of campaigns, created this many impressions, created this number of new URLs on your website, great KPI. If they did 5 to 10 new URLs a month for your same retainer. Maybe 1 month they did 7, the next month they did 6, but the next month they did 10. As long as it averages out, you know you can go to bed at night. As soon as you see that starting to drop, whatever that bar you said is, then maybe pick up the phone, have a serious conversation with that agency, light a fire under their ass, and give them some carrot at the end of the stick. Because a lot of times, and this is what I'll stress to business owners, a lot of times that agency isn't not good at what they're doing. A lot of the times they just got a big client that they just onboarded, and it took all of their resources to get that client up to speed. And unfortunately, your campaigns weren't optimized that last month because they were spending all that time. Doesn't mean they're bad at what they're doing. They just need to know that you know. So your job is to be the one to know that it was different. Whatever that is, it was different, and you don't know why. Light a fire under their ass, tell them you know, make sure they know you know, and tell them next month, if we don't get back on our average, meaning you have to give me 20% more next month, then we're done the month after. But give them that month buffer to say, let's get back on our average, right?
And it really comes down to defining, the ROI that you want, but understanding how that comes about. Like when you talk about content in that just avenue in particular, is so many outside things can affect engagements, impressions, and things like that. If you've ever tried to, or you see someone that makes a post right before a major national news story, I guarantee you that one gets buried a lot quicker. And it could have been perfectly crafted, perfectly written, perfectly executed, and it's washed a bit. So it's good to understand it, but I love that you made sure to emphasize, tell them that you've noticed, and perhaps they come back and say, hey, this is a legitimate answer. They can educate, and you go, okay, that makes sense. And the agency, or even just the software, if anyone in a relationship with, if you're able to go to them and say, hey, I'm calling you, I'm keeping you accountable here, what's going on? If they can give you something that's either an acceptable answer or an acceptable, make good or anything like that, that's where I feel like you start to understand that you're in a good relationship. And, from the NiceJob standpoint, reviews marketing or reputation marketing as we kind of define it and call it, we use the tagline, getting great companies the reputation they deserve. So in the end, you have to be a great company to really benefit off the reputation. We'll get you the best one. We'll give you every opportunity to market that, more leads and sales, all that. But if you're not a good company, then it's not going to happen. And it's the same thing as you kind of have to be almost an active partner in some regard of, if you're not looking at numbers and you're always just taking answers and you're not diving in, that's potential relationship would fall down. Because we talk about the big client thing, that's not something you want to hear. You never want to hear you're not the most important client, but you kind of at least understand. And that gives the opportunity, if you call them immediately out on it, to say like, okay, well, now prove it. I want to kind of ask a question almost related to agencies, but I want to do it as I like to call, like, leaving the door open for the conversation. Is speaking of, like partner programs and like that, at a high level, I'm not correct, like it's helping agencies find software and helping those partnerships come together. Correct? So if an agency wants to go and kind of find software, I mean, they come to partner programs and like that, like, what is the process that you guys, to kind of help these partners come together? Can you take us through that process of how you kind of analyze what's a good software, what's a good agency, and how you make that match? Because I wonder if our small business owners kind of overhear that part of the conversation, they'll kind of understand maybe what to look for when they see who they work with or anything like that, or if there's even a partnership in between. So you just dive in a little on that. I think it'd kind of be I know it's a big shift from what we were talking about in a sense, but I think people really take a lot from that perspective.
Yeah, and I think you did hit on something that I forgot to mention, that is the agencies for your business reputation, those that are going to be helping you share your quality reviews and do all that kind of stuff. It would be very helpful if that agency was also helping you with ideas on how to improve. You can't move your location, you can't, necessarily hire new staff right away, but there are different things, optimizations, tweaks that you can do to make sure that the experience from social onto your website to booking is all buttoned up, right?
Yeah.
And
it's like linear and cohesive, that wherever they're catching you, it's all the same vibe going through.
Exactly. So I think they should be able to speak to that funnel. We call it a funnel because that is where the reputation is. Mobile, this ad happened, to book, to text, to get in a messenger chat, whatever, reserve a table, something is broken. If you see a lot of bad reviews come up, the website development agencies may not be the best suited to answer those questions. So look to an agency that does reviews marketing, reviews management, reputation management, these keywords, and maybe have that as one of your topics on your first conversation. Is, you know, how do you advise or help your clients better their reputation by, you know, tweaking different messaging here and funnel aspects there. And if they have really great answers and they're able to help you, that could be the best type of partner for you for this. But let's talk about your questions. So two sides of the coin: software and agencies. Software like NiceJob can just hire salespeople and be done with it. They can hire marketing, they can hire sales, they can grow really big. We've seen it before. Now, what we see in partnerships, and a partnership, the way we define it, is not a vendorship. You know, that's the term where NiceJob is purely just incentivizing a bunch of agencies to share URLs because they pay that agency a little bit of money, right? That's not a partnership. We deal with partnerships, meaning the agencies are drinking the Kool-Aid. They already love NiceJob as a product. They want to represent NiceJob. They'll probably do it either way, but when it becomes a partnership, that means it's a formal relationship where they are working together to make NiceJob's user experience better, right? That's when it's a partnership. So that's why I recommend looking to the ecosystem behind NiceJob or behind whatever software it is and saying, what agencies are there? Who has been drinking this Kool-Aid? Who believes they can build a business out of NiceJob? If I see a bunch of agencies back there saying, yeah, I can build a business out of NiceJob, those are really smart people in my vertical, meaning they're doing marketing for my type of business, that are, you know, bullish on what NiceJob can do for them, how much more revenue, et cetera, which means they believe it is a great product and a great partnership, right? Which tells me, hey, I want to be involved too. Now, what it means for NiceJob is obviously more influence over the end-all be-all decision. If they've got a lot of agencies that each have 5 to 10 to 20 clients and maybe speak to another 20 a month in sales calls, all saying, when someone asks, what should I do about my reviews? They mention NiceJob. Hey, that's huge for NiceJob. So then it's NiceJob's job to make sure those agencies are enabled, have the assets, the education, training, all the things that they need to make sure to keep saying NiceJob is the best. Also, keeping the product going, keeping the good product enhancements, features. The other aspect of this, which is why you want to get into an ecosystem, not get into a SaaS, but get into a SaaS ecosystem, is because those agencies are thinking about what NiceJob and the NiceJob users need 6 months from now. They're looking and reading blogs from Google's changes that are coming in 3 months or 6 months. You know, they're in groups with other tinkerers, other experts in SaaS, other expert marketers who are telling them, hey, something's coming. You got to get your clients ready for this. NiceJob and their product team, unfortunately, are not reading those blogs. They're not involved in those conversations, those masterminds, those roundtables that the agencies are. NiceJob are hearing, hey, this is broken. Hey, we need this feature. And then they're having some meetings and deciding what features to put in place. So NiceJob is thinking maybe month, 3 months out, maybe, but mostly they're thinking about today. The agencies are thinking about it from a 6 month in the future perspective. So getting together with the product and the agency simultaneously puts your business in a position to expand and be ready for those pivotal changes, whatever it is, those coming whatever for 6 months from now, right? And now the agencies themselves, just as one last level of sort of proof that an agency partner is someone that you really want to work with. In order to be a good agency partner, meaning NiceJob is telling you to go see that agency. In order to get to that level with any software, the agency needs to have their operations streamlined. They need to have everything buttoned up. If they're just ad hoc trying out new stuff and going down roads and spinning up new services, NiceJob's not going to partner with them. They're not going to want to. They're not going to want that agency even talking about them, because it puts NiceJob and their brand in a potential risky situation. So the agencies that are partners of a software are streamlined. Their processes are buttoned up, which means you're not going to be frustrated not knowing what's going on. You're going to have maybe even an account manager. You're going to be very well taken care of at that agency from a operations perspective. Now, they also typically sell retainers, and they typically have had a lot of success with repeat buyers. They've been doing it a while. They would not double down on a partnership if they didn't know that they could continue selling on that partnership, right? This is where HubSpot agencies have blown up, because they double down on the partnership. They streamline their operations, their sales, they productize their services, and they know that next year they can still sell the same retainer to the same company that they're selling to today, because on average, that company will come back. So that's good. That's a good indication for you as a business that that's an agency that you want to be in. You don't want to change agencies every 3 months. And then finally, if they are a partner and they are available on some of these searches and some of these conversations with people like your SaaS, account manager, your SaaS salesperson, if people are talking about that agency, they're a thought leader. They're a subject matter expert. They know how to do blank for your business, right? Otherwise, nobody would talk about them, right? Nobody would say, go to this agency, because that agency wouldn't have gotten to that level, streamlining processes, repeating retainers, being around long enough too. That's a big thing now. A lot of agencies are gone right now. So make sure you are getting involved in an ecosystem, not just a software, I think is the big takeaway.
And absolutely, because that single-minded focus will kind of get into a lot of errors. And I can just say, from the NiceJob side of things, part of what we look for in partnerships and things like that, because we're in a unique situation as we get towards, reputation management. I have one final question on that to kind of ask you, but as we drive forth in this, direction now, it's changed kind of how we act as a company and try to be, as much present, but to be a bit more forward thinking than perhaps some other software companies, some other software platforms. And that goes into making sure that, we aren't caught in that center focus of it. But it all comes down to, you talked about, if someone's representing NiceJob or any other software, that's the reputation stretched out. And reputation is such an interesting thing, because it's something that you'll work hard on, but ultimately is in other people's hands. If you think you're the best and no one says you're the best, your reputation isn't that you're the best. Your work ethic, your culture might be, but it's just not there yet. What can I ask you is, why do you think that reputation in general is something that seemingly, I don't know, more so now, it just feels in the year 2020 has grown kind of exponentially, but a lot more people are very mindful of a trust element and people that can really look into. And it plays into kind of agencies or softwares, because there has to be a trust you kind of have to know. In your opinion, why is reputation seemingly in just about everything? And why is it important to make sure it's a good one if you're going to work with somebody?
Yeah, so it's third party, buy-in for whatever it is. It's all those keywords that go into your landing pages and everything. But the social aspect of it, the peer saying that they have been there and they enjoyed the experience, is more important than anything else out there. It's more important than anything on your website. It's more important than any sales relationships that you have. It's more important than anything, because at some point they're going to get to some digital asset before they make the decision to drive down, call you up, etc. This wasn't always the case. In the past there was, hey, my friend said this, and we're just going to drive down there. We know it's on the corner over here, and we're going to jump in. Now, that's not the case, of course. I think we're all on that page where they're going to be displayed something on their phones, typically on their phones, that says this place is here. Now, what else are they going to see, right? They're going to go down a couple of clicks, no matter where they're at. and they're going to be able to pull up instantly what other people see about your business. Now, what you need to do is jump the gun. You need to be ahead of that to where you're putting something in front of them wherever they're at online, typically a social network, and says, hey, so-and-so, maybe Sean just ate here, loves it. Here's a link to go ahead and reserve, right? Then you're jumping the gun. You are changing that mindset of, oh, this place looks good. I need to go over here and check if it is good, to Sean says it's good. I know Sean, he's done a lot, of eating out recently, and we're going to believe what Sean says, or whatever that review says, whatever type of business you're in. I think what companies like NiceJob are doing is allowing you businesses to circumvent the research process and be more on the offensive and say, we are good. Sean said we're good. Come on down. Here's a link to do whatever, right? Instead of saying, hey, here's our brand. Here's what it looks like inside. Here's an event we have coming up. Now go check us out on all the reviews boards and see if you actually want to make the trip, is what all that other type of advertising is doing. So I think you have to do both, of course, but companies like NiceJob, these reviews management marketing platforms that curate third-party reviews, that's the important thing. They curate third-party reviews. You guys actually just display the third-party reviews. So Google's doing the curating, Facebook's doing the curating, but they're displaying third-party reviews, which means it's an unbiased source. Google doesn't know NiceJob. They don't care. They're just displaying a review that someone put, right? You as the business need to circumvent the research process, if it is a good review, and make sure that people are one-click reserving or one-click booking, as opposed to three-click booking, but those 2 clicks in between were head to Yelp, head to their Google listing, head to their Facebook reviews, and confirm that, yeah, it's worth the trip. I think you need to circumvent that. You need to be more offensive, and that's where NiceJob and these other platforms come in.
And it's kind of brings around full circle. If you're looking and researching an agency and they're answering your questions and they're giving you what you need, and they're kind of like, hey, let's get after it, start doing it. And that's kind of a good sign that not only are they confident in what they're doing, but they are respecting the fact that if you're coming to investigate, you're looking for an answer. You're not just looking to be funneled to a sales call, be funneled to this or funneled to that. It's actionable, sort of a linear path there in that sense.
I love it. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, Alex, you said a lot of things better than I could say. So I'm glad I got one on the scoreboard that I said a little better at the very end there. But thank you so much for joining. I really hope the listeners out there, really took a lot away from this. And I know it was, in some regard, there might be some, window cleaner, plumber out there where it didn't kind of make sense right away. But kind of as you scale and grow, I have a feeling in every sort of business and almost every single industry and genre, you're going to come to a part where you have to investigate and look and make the option that's best for you. And so hopefully when it comes to just a partnership on your own, we learn a little about partnerships, whether it's the software you're using or the agency. I think there's a lot to take away from this. And I have a feeling this might be a re-listen episode where there's kind of so much going on that might not hit you, but I guarantee a couple months down the line, when you're at that point, you're gonna come back and say, I want to go to Alex Glenn, figure out what he said, so I can kind of make the right decision there. Alex, if people want to know more about you or more about partner programs or anything in general, where should we direct them towards?
Yeah, I mean, if you are an agency, we have community.partnerprograms.io, where it's packed with agencies that want to build better services or sometimes scale. They just want to build this more operationally efficient ecosystem as an agency by way of partnering with one another, agencies partnering with agencies, that happens all the time, and also partnering with great companies like NiceJob. So community.partnerprograms.io if you are an agency. If you happen to be another software company listening to this, head to partnerprograms.io for links to how to get involved as a tech company or a software company, SaaS, whatever. And now, if you are a small business owner, definitely defer to the team at NiceJob and make sure you ask them to put you in touch with one of their partner agencies. That keeps their head on, yeah, we got to work closer with these agencies, and that makes everybody in this ecosystem that we talked about happier, and you, the business owner, you get better services from it.
Well, Alex, thank you once again. I really enjoyed this one. Like I said, I knew I was gonna have a lot of questions, and I thought some of them might have been dumb, but honestly, after all this, man, I'm excited, as I always am. But I really appreciate the time.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for having me on.
And for all of you out there, thank you so much for tuning in wherever you did so. You can like, subscribe, you can do all that fun stuff as you will, but be sure to join us again when we come back for another Nice Job live chat. As always, I hope you're being safe, I hope you're being healthy, and have a little fun out there as well. Take care, everybody.